Smith has inexplicably been the worst quarterback the Raiders have started since, I don't know, Carson Palmer?
Geno Smith's a Jet again, and I can't believe it.
On August 11th, 2015, New York Jets quarterback Geno Smith walked into the team's locker room before practice. He had a starting job and a future, right up until the moment a teammate walked up to him in the locker room and broke his jaw over a $600 debt. And what happened next is one of the most remarkable stories in NFL history, but not for the reason you think. But this isn't just another comeback story. It's a deeper story about patience, about dignity, and about a man who was written off by the entire league, only to quietly and painstakingly write his own story back into existence. To understand how Geno Smith ended up with a broken jaw over a $600 debt, you first have to understand that this is not the story of an underdog. Geno came from Miramar, Florida in Broward County, one of the most talent-dense zip codes in American football history. He was a star from the beginning, a 4-star recruit, the best quarterback in the Big East, and an absolute legend at West Virginia. In his senior season, he completed over 71% of his passes and threw 42 touchdowns to just 6 interceptions. He was projected as a potential first-round pick. Some analysts had him going in the top 10, but on draft night, he fell, and he kept falling, all the way to pick 39, where the New York Jets finally took him in the second round.
And I think this is a steal in terms of where you get Geno Smith.
And the moment he arrived in New York, the organization began mismanaging him in ways that would take a decade to fully understand. But before we get to what the Jets did to Geno Smith, we need to talk about what a teammate did to him first. It was August 2015. Geno Smith was the starting quarterback of the New York Jets. He was 24 years old. His first 2 seasons in the league were a struggle, throwing more interceptions than touchdowns as a rookie and showing only minor improvement in year 2. But the Jets kept faith in him, and with a new head coach in Todd Bowles, the 2015 season was meant to be a fresh start. The dispute started when a defensive end on the team, IK Pauley, paid for Geno to fly to his football camp in Texas. When Geno had to miss the camp because his brother was in a bike accident, he promised to pay back Pauley for his half of the $1,200 ticket. He just didn't pay him back fast enough. Weeks turned into a month and then another. With the preseason opener just 2 days away, Pauley confronted Geno in the locker room, demanding his $600. What happened next took less than a second. Pauley threw a punch and it fractured Geno Smith's jaw in 2 places.
Geno Smith is out 6 to 10 weeks.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, the backup, took the starting job, and he never gave it back. The Jets released Pauley the same day, and the Buffalo Bills, now coached by Rex Ryan, the former Jets coach who drafted Geno, signed Pauley immediately after the Jets released him. It was a huge slap in the face to Geno Smith, literally. 1 punch over $600, and a promising career was suddenly sent into the wilderness for the next 8 years. This is the part of the story that most people completely forget, the 8 years of waiting. After tearing his ACL in 2016, his Jets career was over. In 2017, as a backup for the New York Giants, he was given one single controversial start against the Raiders, the game that broke Eli Manning's legendary streak of 210 consecutive starts.
When you get the opportunity, you got to go out there and make the best of it. So I'm excited. I'm excited.
And even though Geno played well, throwing for over 200 yards and a touchdown, the New York media erupted and he was sent right back to the bench. It was a brief, bitter taste of the starting job he knew he deserved. After a year as a backup for the Chargers, he landed in Seattle in 2019, where he spent 3 full seasons as Russell Wilson's backup, not playing a single meaningful snap. He didn't complain or make headlines. He just worked, studied, and prepared every single week as if he were the starter. And you might be thinking, why didn't he just quit? Why not demand a trade or go play in another league? To understand that, you have to understand something fundamental about Geno Smith.
Just being, staying rooted, staying grounded, being the same guy. So that's what, I think that comes into play, especially more, now so.
He never, for 1 second, stopped believing he was a starting quarterback. He simply chose to be a professional, trusting that his moment would eventually come if he was prepared for it. He just needed someone, anyone to give him the chance. It looks easy on paper, but trust me, those years in the dark were harder than you can imagine. And what happened next is why this story is truly special. After 3 years of watching and waiting in Seattle, Russell Wilson was traded to the Denver Broncos in 2022. The Seahawks, a team everyone expected to collapse, handed the keys to the backup who had been preparing for exactly this moment.
The story that has been unveiled about believing in yourself and confidence and trust and never giving up it's a vivid illustration for G.
Geno Smith was 31 years old and hadn't been a full-time starter in nearly a decade. The national media wrote the Seahawks off before the season even started. And then came Week 1 on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos and their new quarterback, Russell Wilson, in his dramatic return to Seattle. In the most anticipated game of the season, everyone expected Wilson to dominate his old team. But Geno Smith had other plans. He was nearly perfect in the first half, completing 18 of his 20 passes for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns, outdueling the man he had backed up for 3 years as the Seahawks won the game 17-16.
Blitz, Homer picked it up briefly, and Smith flips, wide open, caught. Disley, touchdown, what a start.
It was a sign of things to come, and it wasn't a fluke. Later that season, he went on the road to Los Angeles to face the defending Super Bowl champion Rams. With the game on the line, down 3 points with less than 3 minutes to play, Geno marched the Seahawks 75 yards in 15 plays, hitting DK Metcalf for the game-winning touchdown with just 36 seconds left on the clock. He finished the day with a career-high 367 yards and 3 touchdowns, the kind of performance that defines great quarterbacks. And Geno Smith was finally getting the chance to prove he was one of them.
This team has embraced me, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that. I appreciate all the fans. The atmosphere was just electric tonight.
He would go on to complete nearly 70% of his passes that season, the best completion rate in the entire league, while throwing for over 4,200 yards and 30 touchdowns, leading the Seahawks to the playoffs and being named the NFL's Comeback Player of the Year. After the season, when a reporter asked Geno about all the people who had written him off, his response became one of the most iconic lines in recent NFL history.
Yeah, they wrote me off. I ain't right back, though.
He followed that up by making a second straight Pro Bowl in 2023, proving that the comeback was not a one-year wonder. But the story doesn't end there. After a difficult season with the Raiders in 2025, the narrative seemed to be over. And then on March 10th, 2026, something impossible happened. The New York Jets traded for Geno Smith.
Crazy things happen in this world, in sports. Can't make it up.
The same organization that mismanaged him, that watched a teammate break his jaw over $600, they wanted him back.
I mean, I'm happy to have him back, and I think that he has a huge chip on his shoulder. No doubt about it. He's our guy.
Geno's response to the trade? It's kind of like a movie script. There's one final detail you need to know. Geno Smith has a son named Seven, born in 2019. He named him after the number he has worn his entire career. The number that followed him from the Jets to the Giants, to the Chargers, to the Seahawks, to the Raiders, and now all the way back to the Jets. It was the number on his back when a teammate broke his jaw, the number on his back when he won Comeback Player of the Year, and it is the number that his son carries now. The NFL wrote Geno Smith off a long time ago, but he never wrote back. And now he's returned to where it all started, wearing number 7 for the team that let him go, proving that some stories don't end the way anyone expected.